Welcome to Salvage, a podcast for conversations with artists about the repurposed materials they use in their art practice. Please enjoy my conversation with Swapna Namboodiri. Swapna is a plastic sculptor. She's extremely passionate about contributing greener days for the upcoming generations. She upcycles plastics to create sculptural artworks. Swapna collects discarded plastics and individually hand cuts or carves them to create structures inspired by the forms and patterns from nature itself. She cherishes this connection and believes in that artistic exchange between the artist and nature around her. Good morning or good evening.
Thank you. How are you, Natalia?
I am well. Thank you so much for taking the time to be here today.
No worries, Mike.
Where exactly are you? You're in Australia, right?
Yes, we moved 10 months back, exactly. Last December, we moved. So we are still brand new here, babies here. We are in Adelaide, southern part of Australia.
Oh, okay.
Yes,
I have never been. It's on my list. One day I'll get there.
Yes, please do. It's a beautiful place. And we are in South Australia. So Adelaide is the capital of South Australia.
Oh, wonderful. Well, let's get right to it then.
Sure.
Where are you from originally? Like what is your life's journey?
It's quite interesting. Yeah, when I look back, it was an interesting journey. I am basically from India, southern state of India called Kerala.
Okay.
Have you heard of it? Yeah.
Yes, I have. I have been to India, actually. Very long time ago, but I have been there.
Okay. So I come from Kerala. I did my studies there, and I graduated there. I am basically a software engineer, and I work as a software engineer in Bangalore. It's another state. Karnataka is another state.
Bangalore. I think I've been to Bangalore.
Oh, right. Yeah. So when was that?
That would have been 1994.
Oh, really? That's a long time.
It's a long time ago. Yes.
Oh, yes. It was. It's still called Garden City, so it must have been really beautiful that time.
It was beautiful, yeah.
Yes. So, I worked as software engineer for 6 years in Bangalore. In between that, I got married, and after my first baby turned 1 year, I decided to take a break from the software field. And yes, that's how the journey took another turn, I would say. Because till that time, I was more into studies and technical things and all. But I used to paint since childhood. I used to paint.
Okay, that's what I was going to ask. Were you doing art stuff as a kid?
Yes. We didn't have arts as a subject to study or anything. Like here we do have subjects, right? My kids has one subject as arts or something creative. We didn't have any subject, but I used to paint and draw or sketch since a child. And I used to experiment on my own. But then while I was doing engineering, I didn't get that much time to practice, but I used to, because I used to stay in a hostel. It was not at home. So whenever I used to come back home, I take few stuff and just play around. And when I was working, I really started focusing on painting because I knew maybe after completing few months or at least initial first year was okay. Then after that, I realized it's not going to be a long-term one, or I was not at all enjoying. And so this was my stress buster. I would say I would come back home and sit and paint at least for some time. Yeah.
And what kind of things did you paint?
Earlier, it was mostly sketching, and I used to like floral patterns and something related to flowers. And then I think while I was studying my 12th or engineering, I'm not sure, my sister studied painting on glass as part of some of her summer holiday. Uh, we used to have this craft camp and things like that. And my sister studied that. So when I was back home during one of my holidays, she taught me this. And I was really keen to do more. So I went to a local art store and got the supplies. So at that time, we didn't have the privilege to buy all sorts of supplies, right? We have limited pocket money to buy few things. And we wouldn't feel comfortable in experimenting, right? We will just take a drop of paint and
right, because it was
it's so
precious.
precious. Yes. So, but I would love to go to this art store and just talk to them because I didn't go for any other classes, right? So from them, I will get to know different techniques. Okay, you can use this paint like that, that one like that. You can combine these paints and things like that, which was quite interesting and also kind of knowledge transfer sessions for me. And then I started practicing on my own without any rules or regulations. I started exploring the other ways and I used to explore on even randomly. I'll take my mother's glass bowls or things like that, household things, and just start painting.
I hope she appreciated that.
Yes, actually, she supported me a lot, and she would take me to the art store, even though we wouldn't buy a lot of art supplies. Uh, she said yes, and she will take me to the art store because she was a creative person as well. So she likes me to explore and take it further. And yeah, so while I was working, also I felt this medium to be very calming, and I loved. It was kind of I was playing with that paint and medium, and I liked the flow and the transparency of the paints. So during that period, I was mainly focusing on glass painting.
Okay.
Yeah.
And how did you come across plastic as your medium? How did that happen?
Yes. So during this period, I would say, while I was working, um, I got to attend. It was not a workshop. I don't quite remember what it was. It was an organization was doing a stained glass. I'm not sure if it is workshop, but I had to attend in multiple sessions because stained glass is a very laborious process, and we had. I think it was a workshop with multiple projects. So I got to do a small sun catcher, then a larger one, then we had a panel, and then we had a small Tiffany, like 4 panel Tiffany lampshade. Yeah, so 4 projects, I think. So I got to learn the basics of stained glass, and I was quite keen to um learn the process because I never knew we could cut the glass and join it and solder it. All these process was quite interesting. But on the other hand, I knew that I will not be able to pursue because so many chemicals were involved, and we used to live in an apartment, and I do not have a well ventilated area to practice that at home. And so for a period, inspired by the stained glass patterns, I used to play with the glass paints on glass panels.
Okay.
And when I resigned, or when I stepped down from the software field, uh, my daughter was 1 year old. So according to her sleep pattern, I started focusing more on my painting.
I am familiar with this. That is exactly how I started making my art too.
Yes, right. So we'll still have time to spend with baby, and we still have time to pursue our passion. And slowly, that's how the painting or this interest turned to a passion, I would say. Till that time, I didn't even think that it is just a side hustle, or it was just an interest for me. But then I used to always think and dream of painting and what to create next day, things like that. So while I was creating on larger panels, I came across different groups and creative groups in Bangalore. They used to do the markets and art fairs and things like that. And I took part in a couple of them. And through one of my friends there, one of my co-artists there who was taking part in the fair, I came to know about um, till that time I didn't have social media pages or anything. I came to know about Facebook and Facebook page. So I started a Facebook page, and randomly, since I was into software field, I was quite comfortable using the laptop and using the computer at that time, and I was not scared of this machine.
Right.
So I started exploring more, which I thought it was interesting at that time, and without any inhibitions, I used to share whatever I was creating.
Oh, that's great. And this was, you were still painting glass.
Yes. So through this Facebook page, I saw a random ad about an online platform called Crafts Villa, where you could sell your products.
Called
so
what?
Since I had, sorry?
What was it called?
Crafts Villa. It was back in 2010, I believe. Because at that time, it was the online platforms were still racing. It was just it was kind of a startup. It was not a proper platform. Now it has moved as a kind of a huge marketing place. Marketplace, I would say, but and they have combined everything. It is not just handmade products right now, but earlier it was only for handmade products in India. And I wrote to them a very naive email expressing my interest to join the platform and all, and they accepted. And so that is a starting point of my the commercial side of the artwork. So long story short, when I started selling the glass works, I realized the practical difficulties of using the glass and the difficulties involved in the logistics.
Yeah.
So I used to create. Then I thought of alternatives for glass, and then I came to know about perspex or the acrylic sheets.
Oh, perspex, acrylic.
Yeah,
okay.
yeah, which look like glass, and I used to buy it in different thickness, but still it's not breakable. So it was very convenient for me. It's lightweight, and the medium has, yes, I could treat it still as a glass because the techniques were all same. Since that acrylic look like is plastic and it has all the characteristics of the single-use plastics, from very long time I'm a big hoarder of the clear pet bottles, and I never felt comfortable throwing them away. Initially it was just because of the visual beauty of the bottles, different bottles. I was just curious about the beauty of the bottles, of that sheen. And so while I was hoarding these bottles, I thought, shall I just try to experiment with that material? So that was the initial stage when I was exploring how to cut this PET bottles, how to use this paint on this, and different things. So during that period, I think it was back in 2013 or 2012, I created small batch of earrings. Initially, it was earrings.
Earrings, okay.
Yes, not artworks. And it was just a small batch, and I used to take these to the fairs and different markets. But at that time, even the word sustainability or upcycling or recycling, it was not this common, and people were not aware of these many things. And also, on the other hand, the plastic usage was also not this much.
Right. So this was still in India.
Still in India, but
plastic bottles were not being recycled?
No.
Oh, interesting. Okay.
It was back in 2013, and still I think there is a huge gap between the consumption and the disposal or the recycling. There is a huge gap, especially for the common men. They still because they are not aware of different types of plastics or which are, even though biodegradable, what kind of disposal method you should follow, things like that. It's not aware.
Confusing for us here.
Yes. Yes. So at that time, when I used to take these PET bottle earrings to the market, um, the response was so demotivating because people were not aware of the concept of upcycling or recycling or sustainability or the importance of doing this or practicing this.
Right.
And they would, oh, that's a piece of trash. You're taking.
No.
Yes. They would pass by and see it's beautiful and they would come nearby. And when I try to explain, we it's quite demotivating, especially when you're still in the early phase of your art journey, right?
So you were cutting apart the bottles into shapes and then painting the shapes?
Yes.
Okay.
I used to do small works, large statement earrings. I used to do neck pieces and all sorts of things.
And you were using glass paint for all of this?
I used to mix. I used to use glass paints, or maybe I'll first use acrylics and then glass because it's still, so I still can get the opaqueness. Or sometimes I used to, the newspaper has an interesting print. I was just seeing if I have a newspaper. The newspaper, I used to, similar to paper mache, on plastic.
Oh, interesting.
I used to combine different things on plastics.
That's so cool.
Yeah.
So glue pieces of newspaper onto the plastic?
Yes. And then I after gluing, I would attach or maybe hand stitch beads around the corners so the paper would, it stays intact. Or maybe I'll just sandwich the paper or the print in between two pieces of plastic. So it will be it's still transparent from both the sides and can see the design. So I have combined these techniques at that time. And but since I got kind of that response, I didn't get that right inspiration or motivation to pursue that. Right. So I just created a few small bunch of pieces. And even at that time, I started an Etsy store back in 2013. But I sold through Etsy. But I was not aware of the pricing of earrings compared to India, and when I was listing on a global platform and things like that, there was a very long way to go in sense of so many commercial or business aspects, which I was still in learning phase. But that journey had to take a pause because we had to relocate to Doha, Qatar. To Qatar, we relocated in 2014. So, and then the journey took another path from there. So in Doha, I started doing. I was part of a very culturally diverse and very active, creative community. I was so fortunate. It was a wonderful community, and people were from. So in Doha, we have a very strong expat community. There were lots of people from different countries, and so this group was named Khat Art, and so we had lots of. There is a very strong cultural village. It is called Katara Cultural Village, and they provided the space to do the handmade arts and crafts markets every Friday. And I used to be part of such markets, and through them, I got to interact with more people and came to know about the different art practices people are following. At that time, I was initially back in 2014, 2015, still I was doing the paintings on glass and perspex. I used to do artworks based on the landscapes and the skylines, cityscapes of Qatar.
Oh.
Particularly, yes, particularly focusing on that audience. So I used to what to say, highlight different interesting landscapes and the uh, and their attires and the jewelry and things like that. So that was quite an interesting journey, and that's when I got very good inputs about how to present and price your artworks and all those kind of technical knowledge, which I was lacking big time till then. Then that gave a huge boost in my confidence or even my mindset towards my own work.
Sure.
And yeah, so I think through the interaction, not just with my art community, but even with the audience, that gave me just instantly shifted me to another place with lots of ideas and lots of motivation to just create.
Yeah.
So through them, no, we had a workshop on. So within the span, we moved from Facebook to Instagram, and so many things changed in the social media side, right?
Right.
So I was not sure how to tackle these things initially, and but through Instagram, I came to know about the online galleries. So in Doha, in Qatar, since it's a very small country, I don't know if you have noticed, it's a tiny country.
I have noticed that on the map. I have not been there.
Okay. So we do not have that many gallery options, or the art scenario was not very active at that time.
Okay.
So even though I see through social media and the internet that there are so many things happening on other side as well, so I wanted to explore that. And that's when I learned about the online galleries. So it became like a research period for me. Every day I will spend some time to see and learn from different artists. And oh my God, I was literally awestruck seeing these many talents. It's like literally going to an art gallery with so many artworks, right?
Absolutely. That's why I love Instagram as well. I was like, oh my God, it's such a visual feast. You can get lost there for hours if you're not careful.
Oh my God. So seeing that, I learned from, I used to follow a few established artists who just focus on their style and their skills, honing their skills, and they're so consistent in their practice. And then I was thinking how I can take my work to, or how I can uplift or upgrade my work in such a way that not only it just gives a visual treat or visual beauty, but also gives some value to the audience as well. And that's when I thought of combining this jewelry or the plastics to my artworks. So in Doha, the usage of single-use plastic is, you cannot imagine. The lifestyle is like that, and
you mean a lot? So they use a lot of single-use plastic?
Yes.
Oh, okay.
So we get bottles in like different, you name it, you get it. So you have gallons and crates of bottles for everyday usage.
Oh, wow.
And even the carry bags to bottles to takeaway boxes. And there's a lot. It is kind of scary. So for me, getting the raw materials was so easy. But initially, I was just taking small bits and pieces of plastics and exploring, because I was creating in such dimension, and then I just moved to little more bigger one. But still, I need time to combine this jewelry textures into a form of an artwork and try out different compositions and things like that. But somehow through these art galleries, I got uh, the validation that I needed at that time. Yeah. So that is the starting point of my sculptural works with plastics.
Okay. So did you at that point realize the problems with single-use plastic, and that's what you were thinking? That's why you wanted to use it? Or was it more experimental and you were curious about what you could do?
Initial phase was purely experimental.
Mm-hmm.
Maybe a couple of months, I would say. Initial phase was just uh, out of curiosity or the excitement of the childlike excitement to play with the medium and the material, because I was um, I was, yeah, I would say I was thrilled to see that people were accepting my artworks. It was miniature works, it was small tiled work, but
So
I don't
like,
now when
was it flat or was it already sculptural?
it was on a 3D, a square flat, I think wooden panels.
Okay.
But the textures were sculptural, and the first initial collect. I don't know now. Now when I'm talking to you, I'm thinking, and when I look back, I don't know how I created that in a series, because I didn't have any knowledge about that, but I had created like series of 3 artworks, and it was called Freshwater Pearls, and it had textures.
Mm-hmm.
It was on the panel, but yeah, through Art Finder, I sold those pieces.
Excellent.
I think yes. So that was a validation that I needed. It is not about the amount that I sold. I don't even remember the price, but it was not very expensive at that time. But it was that realization.
Yeah, that's
somebody
exciting.
liked, yes, somebody liked my work, and the story behind that work was, oh my God, I cannot. I still get goosebumps when I share about those sculptural initial series.
Oh, that's
Uh,
wonderful.
yeah. So, but even while I think it was a phase before creating Freshwater Pearls.
Mm-hmm.
I was just curious to explore the artwork. But then slowly, because you're always thinking about this material and how to um, give it a second life and how to upgrade that material and things like that. So
Yeah.
you'll obviously learn about the material. You have to learn what goes behind that as well.
Right. You start
And then
doing research about it. Yeah.
slowly my learning about the plastic also started. And
Mm-hmm.
I'm still learning a lot about the plastics and different types of plastic and things like that. But yeah, soon after that, uh, I realized the effects of plastic, also how much we are dependent on plastics as well.
Yeah. Yeah. Wow. So I think I don't know how long I've been following you on Instagram. I think it's been a few years, but I think one of the first things that I saw that you were creating was this whole installation, and it was all green plastic. It was like a green plastic garden.
Yes,
Yes.
yes.
How did that come about?
Oh, it was a wonderful project and an amazing experience. It's still a surreal experience for me to create in that scale.
Mm-hmm.
And so it was just after the COVID period.
Okay.
Uh, and I think just before the second wave or after the second wave, but still COVID was around at that time,
Mm-hmm.
and that installation was named Fool's Paradise.
Ooh, I love that.
Yes. So it was. I don't remember the exact dimensions, but it was in a large room, and
Mm-hmm.
it was part of the launch of a sustainable brand of a clothing brand,
Oh.
back in Doha. So yeah, and they commissioned to do that installation, and it took almost a month. So we collected.
That's it? Just a month?
Just a month.
Just
I would say even less than a month. I would
my
say
God.
yes.
Did you have helpers?
I had another friend because initially the project came to him since he practiced another medium and I was practicing plastics, and the client were keen to work on single-use plastics for this installation. They particularly were interested to do that, and then the project came to me, and we discussed. Since we didn't have a good time to come up with or to handle it single-handedly, then I requested him to join me at least in the execution phase. So yes, I had help from, but it was just two of us.
Wow! Wow!
Yes, and and we collected that many bottles. That too, just in green color. For few textures, particularly for the flowers and a few bushes and things like that, we took the clear bottles, which I had already all the stocks of. But for the other one, we shared it on social media, and even people who knew us kept collecting the green bottles, and they would just pass by to deliver. And but since it was that scale was for us, it was a first project, and we had a huge learning experience throughout because we didn't know how to tackle the scale. We didn't know how to even though we thought we had a clear plan. When we first went there on site to install it, that's when we are realizing we are just able to cover less than half of the size with the already created. So, and then it was like, oh my God. But that's kind of a milestone project for me. It was wonderful.
I bet. So how did you attach all of those plastics?
For the longer ones, so it was inspired by, or at least the landscape. Desert oasis was the inspiration. So we wanted the desert plants and the desert, at least palms or looking like palms, things like that. For the longer structures, we created armature with the wires and the chicken wires. So, and it was, the base was for certain portions, we use the thermocol or the styrofoam base. We carved the base and then attach it. And when certain sections need to be sturdy and heavy, so we inserted poles, and then on poles we would insert these bottles, and it would be sturdy, or it would stand straight.
Wow.
And for the smaller plants, it was very easy to assemble. It was just a creation part, but the installation was quite easy.
Wow.
Yeah.
So that was your first installation of that scale. Had you done smaller installations before that?
Not really. That was the first installation, I would say.
So you were making small sculptural artworks before that?
Yes. I was particularly focusing small scale artworks because, as I mentioned earlier, I didn't have, especially with the sculptural artwork, I didn't have a platform to showcase in Doha, Qatar at that time. Before COVID, it was a totally different scenario, I would say, because people still were not aware of these are kind of unconventional art practices, which it is not very common, right?
Right.
So, so I realized my audience was somewhere else, and I was getting that reassurance through these online galleries because I was sending the artworks abroad, mainly to the UK and the US.
Oh, interesting.
Yes. So considering that fact, because the main client base is somewhere else and I need to ship these from Qatar, that's when I started focusing on the small dimensions.
Right. Yeah, no, shipping is expensive, I'm sure. Even if the
Yes,
plastic is lightweight, it's still
I
expensive.
know. Yes.
Yeah.
So I wanted to, yes, think of that practical aspect as well.
Mm-hmm.
And yeah, so that's why I was focusing on smaller works. But then after COVID, even the COVID period, thanks to these platforms that I stayed busy throughout the COVID phase. And since that phase was busy for me, and I managed to update online as well, that has helped me eventually, because soon after that was this installation. And after that, I had done multiple installations and large scale artworks after that, especially in Qatar. And then I started having good client base in Qatar as well.
Yeah. Oh, that's wonderful. Okay. So you had more requests for installations and bigger artworks in Qatar.
Yes.
Yeah.
More installations. And I worked closely with multiple ministry organizations. I was so fortunate. Yes, ministry means the government organizations there.
Oh, okay.
Yes. So we had, I had projects from Ministry of Environment and Ministry of Municipality. So I had done multiple projects with them where they commissioned me to create artworks. I'm not sure if you have seen, I have done artworks covered in cloches. So those were created as giftable. I'm not sure how to.
Oh, gifts.
So
So they
those
were
were gifted. Yes.
to like
So
dignitaries and things like that.
dignitaries. Yes.
Like that.
So whenever ministry had some sustainability related event, or I was commissioned to do a project for COP27 or COP26, which happened in Cairo at that time in 2021, I guess. So I had created multiple closures, artworks in closures. Yeah. So I was so fortunate in that way to get associated with them and create that many pieces.
Yeah, that's exciting. Wow.
Yes, it was.
Wow. And then somehow after all that, you wound up in Australia, and now you're creating your work in Australia.
Yes, and after all these, we moved last year. It was hard to decide, but of course, my husband got a better opportunity here, and the kids were growing up and their studies, everything. So we decided, yeah, it's better to move now. And yes, it was hard to say bye to Qatar, but still, yeah, because I would definitely say Qatar gave me lots of opportunities and exposure and whatnot. But yeah, life is like this. We must move on according to the yes.
Nothing constant but change is what they say.
Yes.
So now in Adelaide, do you have a studio? Is it in your home or is it outside the home?
No, it's a home-based studio. I call it home-based studio. It's not exactly studio, but yes, I have a space on my own. So at least I can create there. But yes, for our type of work, we need space, right? We cannot. So the interesting fact is, luckily I got busy as soon as we came here as well. So I didn't still have get any proper time to set up a studio space. I have, so I'm working wherever I'm sitting here, but I have a dedicated space. At least I'll have to move that to. I'm planning to move that to my garage space at least, so I'll have a good daylight, and at least I can focus on creating larger pieces to take it outside and do in certain way. But
so have you done any installations in Australia yet?
Yes. Oh, yes. That was exciting. I did one installation as part of another sustainability event here. So we live in a suburb named Burnside. So they had a sustainability week, mm, I think 2 or 3 months back.
Mm-hmm.
Yes. So as part of that, I was their featured artist and I could do an installation
Oh, wow.
based on coral bleaching. And yes, it was amazing. Because now I get to see upcycling and such kind of textural work is still new here. And the people are so curious to learn about it and they are excited. And I get so motivated seeing their excitement.
Yeah. All right. So now I have to ask some technical questions. So,
no worries, go for it. Yes.
So you collect plastic bottles. Are you now collecting them in your home or people are donating it to you?
Both. People are donating it to me. Yes. I have a couple of friends from the community and neighbors as well who know that I am into this, and they take their time and energy to clean and sort out the caps and everything, and they just deliver it to me. And I have my own from my own use as well.
So then it's mostly bottles. That's what you use mostly. It's the clear.
I have clear bottles and the milk jars.
Right, they're translucent. They're not really
translucent, and also takeaway boxes. Not literally takeaway boxes. We have the packaging boxes.
Okay.
The food packaging boxes.
Okay. Yes. So, do you just cut them with scissors?
Yes. Normal scissors and the knives.
Not like a craft knife.
Craft knife, yes.
Wow. And then when you shape them, do you use some kind of heat to shape them?
For none of my textures, I do not use heat. So you use the pliers or the knife to bend it, or hand bending.
Oh, okay. So you're just bending it by hand. Oh.
Yes. For certain textures, especially for the milk jars and the neck portions of certain bottles, it's hard to bend just with the hand. So you need to use the plier. So you get the craft. I use the same plier. I'm not sitting in my art room.
No, it's okay. It's okay.
I get this plier for jewelry making, which has some pliers has flat. What to say? So certain pliers will have.
They don't have those ridges.
Ones.
Yeah.
Yes. Cylindrical one doesn't have any textures, so it's better. That's the better one to bend.
Wow, that's amazing that you get all those textures by hand.
Yes, and when you get to tackle it, it's quite easy sometimes because you're so used to doing that, right?
Yeah.
Just like cutting vegetables when it comes naturally. Right. Just like that.
You've been doing it for so many years. Of course it comes naturally.
Yes, exactly.
Wow. And what kind of paint do you use to add color?
So even now I stick on to glass paints for most of my projects. Yes. Oh, wow. That's how the journey evolved and took shape, I would say. But not just that, because for certain projects I need because glass paints are still very transparent and flowy. For certain textures, I do not prefer that. And then I combine with acrylics, or as I told earlier, I used to, sometimes I layer layers of paper and then paint the paper.
Oh.
Back in Doha, I had a project where I combined fabrics and plastic, where I wrapped all the plastic to get certain colors and textures.
Oh, wow.
So I used fabric to get that. I still have, I really wish to pursue that way as well, combining plastics with fabrics someday.
Wow. That's exciting. So when you paint with glass paint, do you use a brush or is it like spray paint?
not spray paint.
It's like a
Because
little, I think I've seen, it's like a little pen that sort of sprays.
that's I used to do airbrush for
Airbrush,
my
that's what I was
acrylics.
thinking.
Yes, I used to do using my acrylics because it gives a very um, interesting texture, interesting finish.
Mm-hmm.
Um, I still have the airbrush with me, but I haven't started using it here. Uh, right now, I use brush or I even use sponge.
Oh, okay.
Yes, it gives a
Uh-huh.
good finish for the paint.
Wow. So, and
Yes.
then how do you attach the pieces? Is it glue or are you using rivets? What do you use?
To create certain patterns, I use rivets. I love the effect that rivets create, and it's yeah. I even today I was playing with some eyelets. Um, Usually, most of the time, I hand stitch the textures to the canvas.
You were hand stitching. Oh, I didn't realize you were stitching. Oh.
Yes, I hand stitch the textures to the canvas. Um, I think till 2022 or maybe earlier 2021, I used to create, as I told, I used to create in smaller panels.
Hmm.
For that, I have used glues to stick,
Mm-hmm.
but I almost get heart attacks when I ship these artworks until I get positive feedback from the client. I used to be, oh my God, I just hope that it reaches there safely and
Yes.
that all
Oh, I
textures.
understand. But when you stitch it, it's secure. You know it's not
It's
going
so,
anywhere.
I
Yes.
know, right? So then now, even though it's time consuming, now I know it's safe.
Yeah.
And yeah, so now I'm just focusing on that.
What kind of thread do you use? Because it's almost invisible. I don't think I.
Uh, Mostly, recent one I have used a normal thread, but mostly I use metal wires. The
Oh, you
thick,
stitch it with
yes,
metal wires. Okay.
yes, yes.
Oh, interesting. So
So
you
I
use
can.
canvas panels then?
Yes.
Yeah.
For certain projects, I've used wooden panels where I could just staple them or rivet them.
Uh-huh.
But that was mostly for a couple of projects back in Doha. It was specifically for certain projects, but otherwise, I prefer hand stitching on canvas.
Uh-huh. Wow.
Yeah.
That's so cool. So what is your favorite kind of plastic to work with?
Pet transparent pet bottles,
The water bottles, like
water
those.
bottles.
Yeah.
Yes, but
Yeah.
I would say certain projects I love doing with the milk jars as well because so many options and sometimes it's so flexible and there is always some kind of excitement in exploring or just trying out different techniques. So yeah, these two mostly.
Yeah, yeah.
Yeah.
I love watching your Instagram reels where you're taking the
Oh.
jugs out of the closet and they're just, transformed.
Oh, thank you. I always think of or maybe aim to cut and sort all these plastic bottles so that I could use the space efficiently, but that never happens. I collect the bottles and I just stash them inside. But every time when I open that door, I feel like, okay, this weekend I'm just gonna sort these bottles. But yes, time just
There's
passed
not
by
enough
on
time for that. That's what you need an assistant for.
seriously. Sometimes when the projects are bigger and when we have time, my husband and my elder daughter, they are my assistants and they
Oh, good.
kind of assist me in certain tasks, especially the logistics or the packing. Yes, they both help me.
Yeah, that's great. So did I see that you recently had a hotel commission or something? Or did you make
uh,
some work for a hotel lobby or something like that?
yes, yes.
That's
It
exciting.
was.
Congratulations.
Oh my God, thank you. Yes, it was actually the discussion started way back when I was in Doha.
Mhm.
But the project, it just kick-started after, thankfully, after coming here, because otherwise it would have been in between all these relocation hassles. Now
So is
that I
the
could,
hotel in Australia then?
no, it's in California.
Oh, it's in California. Oh, wow.
Yes, yes. So we had to ship them, and we could use. But I didn't do the packing. We outsourced the packing and shipment part, but everything is safe. And I didn't frame it also. Because the framing and it will be heavy.
Yeah.
So I just shipped them and they did the framing.
Right. Oh, that's great.
I'm yet to get the final picture, but I think they are still in the installation process. I'm not sure, but I'm yet to get the final photo after installing in this space.
I look forward to seeing the final picture because it looked exciting when you were just putting it all together.
Oh, yes. Oh, my God. Because we will be visualizing in certain way, but it will be in a totally different way when it's in that real phase, right?
Absolutely. So then the last project that I remember seeing you make were mushrooms.
Yes.
They looked so cool. And
thank
they
you.
were on a wooden, but the stump was wooden that you attached them for.
Yes. Oh, that was really exciting for me to see it coming life. Oh my God, it was.
So was that from water bottles?
From the milk jars.
That was from the milk jugs. Okay.
Yes. So the mushrooms actually started. That was started way back in Doha. I had a collection of 5 to 6 small pieces, which was named Mushroom Marble, I believe. That was back in Doha because we never get to see mushrooms in that region. But while growing up, I have seen, because we in Kerala, we have this tropical weather and we have monsoons where we get to see the mushrooms. So when Kerala has monsoon, that time in Doha, it is peak summer. So I was just craving to see these mushrooms and monsoon. So I created my own mushrooms. And that series was so interesting. So when I came here, I don't know if you have noticed, because 1 month was an art festive season for Adelaide.
Yes, I saw you were preparing. You were so busy for this festival.
Yes, it is. It's called Sala Festival, South Australian Living Artist Festival. And it's an amazing concept because anyone could host an exhibition or anyone could register as an event.
Oh,
and
cool.
Yes, so artists come together and just celebrate, and people are so keen to go and support artists. So fortunately, I could take part in 6 different events.
Oh my God, 6 different events.
Yes.
Wow.
Yes. Oh my God. And
in what kind of time period? What was the time period?
In 1 month, there will be openings everywhere. And
no wonder you were so busy. Wow.
Yes. In one of the events I was doing, in 2 events, I was doing an live art demonstration. And in one of the event, there was an artist talk. And in 2 other events, it was a group exhibition. Oh my God, it was a wonderful period. So busy. So during that period, so we have the option to register our event with a photo of the artwork in the booklet. So in the booklet, we'll have a photo which will talk about our event. So that should be an eye-catchy one. So 3 of us did an exhibition. One of the artists named Catherine, whom I met here during one of the events, and she was kind enough to host this event exhibition, and she suggested to give this mushroom artwork as our event photo.
Okay.
Because she said it's unusual and we haven't seen such artwork here, so people would be curious to come and see what it is. And that was so real that people would come looking for that artwork, and that the mushroom artwork was sold during the first day itself.
Oh,
and
wow.
I did multiple mushrooms after that as commission works, and I delivered one today.
Oh, wow.
So it was a huge, I would say, oh my God, I cannot express in words that gratitude I have for Catherine for suggesting that. And it was wonderful experience.
That's
So
amazing.
after that mushroom, I thought of creating that on a wooden base, because it would that's how it is. That's how the mushrooms thrive on a wooden
Right. They're
piece.
always growing on wood. I mean, yes, they
Yes,
grow on the ground as well, but it's on the wood. Yeah.
yes.
Yeah.
So then we get wooden logs here, and I collected a couple of them from one of our friends' place, and I just wanted to see how it looks. And before creating itself, I was like, oh my God, I'm gonna do that. And I did two, yes. So far, I completed two pieces,
Mhm.
and currently it's part of another exhibition as part of Nature Festival. And yeah, now it is part of that
Oh, that's
exhibition.
exciting. So what do you have coming up in the near future?
Coming up, I have an ongoing collection which I started doing after coming here. It's based on coral bleaching again. I usually focus on coral bleaching somehow, then it take turns to mushrooms and flowers. But mostly I focus on coral bleaching, and it was named Life Down Under.
Ah,
So I'm aiming to complete 10 artworks. Right now, I have just completed four, and it is part of that same exhibition as part of Nature Festival.
uh-huh.
And I'm hoping to complete that. But till now, I had the commission work to finish on this mushrooms. And mm, since since past 10 years, I wanted to see the experience with audience here, as I told how I was experimenting back in Doha, and I got instantly connected with the rough, raw Australian outbacks here.
Oh,
That was the site while we were coming and landing. We would just pass down that red center and then then fly. So seeing that outback and connecting it with our personal journey of migrating from another country to here, I started a series named Migration Series, uh, focusing on abstract landscape, mainly Australian outbacks.
hmm.
So it's kind of mixed media works, which I am sharing on an Australian gallery, online gallery named Blue Thumb. And
Named what? Blue?
Blue Thumb, Blue Thumb.
Okay.
And luckily that is keeping me busy because fortunately, again, people are liking those series, and
Mhm.
the the story of the migration, and how, even though I have just had that glimpse of outback, the rest of it is from my imagination
Right.
and my connection with the journey.
Yeah.
And so that collection is going well. I have sold many pieces of that series now. And since it is selling well, I thought of, creating that also constantly, because that just give the right motivation to keep me going and develop the new series as well. So that is one project. And recently I completed, it's coming in full circle because I restarted my jewelries as well. Yeah,
Oh, oh yes, I
yeah.
did see something about that on your Instagram.
Yes, so that was a recent, I would say, oh my God, I cannot say dream come true, because that was not even in my dreams. This collection is now a part of Art Gallery of South Australia store, and they will be selling those pieces.
That's
And
amazing. So, okay,
um,
how many hours a day do you work?
I get only 4 to 5 hours
What?
in a, yes, in a stretch, because my kids go to school by 8:30, and then after my breakfast at maximum by 9:30 if I can start. I get only till 2:30 in a stretch.
Right. So
Uh,
you're making your work while the kids are in school.
Yes.
Yeah, I used
But
to do that too.
right. So because after coming back, they will be so, and it's a huge difference for them as well, because in Doha, Qatar, the school timing is totally different, and
Oh,
here it's different. So when they are back from school and after some playtime, they are tired. It's dinner time done.
yeah, yeah.
So, but now I can squeeze in few more working hours after they go to bed,
Oh my
because
goodness.
yes,
Wow.
because I can get a good sleep. Uh, in Qatar, as I mentioned, the school starts so early, and the kids need to be ready by 6:15 in the morning.
Oh my God. Wow, that's
Yes,
really early. I had no
really
idea.
early, and we will feel so sad and bad to wake them up, especially during winters, and it's
Yeah.
very hard. So we start very early, and it's kind of exhausting because we do not get that good stretch of sleep. So luckily here we have this stretch of sleep, and you can, oh my god, we can start the day fresh, and so that way, uh, even if the kids are in bed by 8 or 8:30 or even at 9, I still can manage to get at least a couple of hours to do certain tasks and wind up the day. So yes,
Wow.
I can say 5 to 6 hours a
Oh
day.
my goodness. That's a lot. And is all of that art making or is some of that administrative work?
Oh my God, yes. Oh, that's not the fun part, right? That
No,
is,
it's not.
oh my God. I just keep pushing that admin works to the last minute. Yeah, but yes, we have to do that as well.
Yeah.
Sometimes it, uh, especially nowadays, that matters.
Yeah.
Um,
Yeah. And do
and
you do
yes,
all your own Instagram reels,
yes,
stuff like that?
yes,
That's
yes,
a lot of
everything.
work too.
Oh my God, yes. And sharing the similar thing on all the social media. So right now I kind of enjoying that part as well, because it has been quite, so before COVID I was not consistent in terms of social media or posting. I
Hmm.
think it was during the COVID and after COVID I got that momentum of creating, and because now that also became part of the process,
Yeah. So you're
right?
you're constantly taking videos of yourself creating so you would be able to do the Instagram reels and everything.
Frankly speaking, till now I forget. While I'm
That's
creating,
you get
I
too
forget.
involved. Yeah.
Yes. And then after everything, I'm like, oh my God, this much things done. Now what do I do? Then I switch on the phone and keep it here, and then I act as if I'm doing.
Okay, I'm not alone.
No.
No, it's so
I
easy
used to
to get
wonder how.
involved and forget.
Yes, yes. Even today, while I was going to deliver the mushroom artwork, I was like, my God, I did these many work in the morning and I completely forgot. So I had two mushrooms. So I then took the other mushroom and then took the videos of that one. Because, oh, we forget, because when we get maybe 1 hour or half an hour, we try to do everything possible in that time period,
Yes,
right? Yes.
absolutely. Yeah. Yeah.
Yes.
Wow.
That's very good.
Wow. Well, Swapna, thank you so much. This has been such an interesting conversation. I love learning about your journey and your art process.
Oh, thank you so much for having me, and good to
Yeah.
talk to like-minded people always, since you're
Yes.
also, and I loved your floral series and
Oh, thank
the
you.
new creations, and how you have combined sewing and the plastic layers of plastic,
Yeah.
and it's really great.
Thank
And
you. Well,
I'm
I really relate when you were saying how you were just excited to experiment with the materials first and then figured out the problems with the materials. That was the same for me with plastic shopping bags. They were there wasn't that many of them. They were pretty, and I was saving them because they were, nice and sturdy, and they were pretty. And then I was like, oh, I can sew with this. And I was excited to figure out how to do it. And it was only later that I was like, okay, so what is this made from? How does this work?
Exactly.
Oh, it's not really recyclable. And then you learn all the bad stuff. So then you become an advocate to use it. Yeah.
Right. And then so many things you learn on the go. We just every day there will be something or the other. We learn something new.
Yeah.
And thanks to internet, we learn from that as well.
Yeah. No, I think it's important for us to be, as artists who use these types of materials, we also should be talking about the problems with the materials. Yeah, I used to have people tell me, oh, look, they just outlawed plastic bags in New York. Now what are you going to use?
Yeah.
I haven't had a problem yet. It's been years.
I know. Right? Yes. I've heard that as well. Plastic.
We'll move on to something else.
Absolutely. Right. Yes. Right? And sometimes this plastic, everyone, even who are not into creative field or who are not into upcycling or anything, who are not even related to this field, when they comment about the harsh effects of plastic, where we often tend to question about their actions against the plastic or against plastic pollutions and things like that. So it's better that we are at least taking a step or taking some action in our own way.
Absolutely.
So we should be proud of that.
Yeah. Absolutely. No, I keep saying it's a free art material. Let's use it all.
Yes.
Use it all. Make it in, instead of sending it to the landfill or having it wind up in the ocean, we'll make something beautiful out of it.
Exactly. That's how we are giving a value to this material. That's how.
Yeah. And that makes people notice, and that brings the problem to the forefront.
Absolutely. Yes. Wow. Lovely.
Well, thank you so much for your time, Swapna. I can't wait to share this interview with everyone. It's going to be exciting. Wow. That's all I got to say. Wow. That was wonderful. Thank you for joining me. Please rate and review this episode, this podcast. I would greatly appreciate it. This podcast was created, produced, and edited by me, Natalia Korover. Theme music by R.C. Gaida. Find out more about me at artbynatalia.com. Find out about my community at repurposercollective.com and about my education initiatives at ecoloop.art. Thank you for listening. Please rate and review and share this podcast with anyone that you think might like it. Thanks so much.